Hello students, in the last session we have discussed about basic elements of Python. In today's session we will continue with basic elements of Python. So let's start. Next, operators. So operators are special symbols in Python that carry out arithmetical or logical computations. Most of the operators used in Python are same as other programming languages. The arithmetic operators have the usual precedence. For example, star binds more tightly than plus. That means the usual precedence rule is used for arithmetical operators even in Python. So star has more precedence than the plus. Division has more precedence than plus and minus. So usual precedence rule is used even in Python. Okay, look at some of the operators which can be used on integer and float types. Look at the first one. It is I plus j is the sum of I and j. So operator plus, it is used for summation. If both I and j are int, the result is integer. If either of them is float, the result is float. That simply means if I write an expression, say 1 plus 2, the result is, the output is 3. But if I use an expression, say 1 plus 2.0, the output is, what is the output? It is not integer, it is float, that is 3.0. So if one operand is of type float, the output is of type float. Second is I minus j. Again, it is the operator which is used to deduct a value j from I. Again, the same rule applies here. If both are of type int, the result is int. If either of them is float, the result is float. Then we have a multiplication, that is product of I and j. If I and j both are of type int, the result is int again. If either of them is float, the result is float. Then we have what is called as I double slashes j is integer division. It is an integer division. For example, the value 6 divided by 2 is the result is integer 3, and the value 6 divided by 4, the result is int 4. Again, this operator, it is used for integer division where both the operands are of type integer. The value is 1 because integer division returns quotient and ignores the remainder. As we have studied in other languages as well, when both the operands of an operator are of type integer, the result is always integer. Then we have one more operator which is used for division purpose, that is I divided by j, is I divided by j. In Python 2.7, when I and j both are of type int, the result is also int, otherwise the result is float. In this book we will never use single forward slash to divide one int by another. We will be using double forward slashes. In Python 3, the operator forward slash always returns a float. For example, 6 divided by 4 is 1.5. So that simply means in Python 2.7, if both the operands are of type integer, say 6 divided by 4, the result is 1. But in Python 3, even though both the operands are of type integer, the result is 1.5. So it is in Python 3, but as we are using Python 2, so if we divide 6 by 4, the result is 1, it is not 1.5. Okay. Then we have an operator, that is I mod j, that is the reminder. I is divided by int j. It is typically pronounced as I mod j, which is short for I modulo j. Again, this returns the reminder. Then the next is I into j, which simply means I raised to the power of j. If I and j both are of type int, the result is int. If either of the operand are of type float, the result is float. So if I say 2 into 2, so that simply means 2 raised to 2, and the result is 4. Then the next is the comparison operators like equal, not equal, greater than or equal, less than or equal. All these operations are same as in other programming languages. So these are some operators which can be used on int and float types. The operators on type boolean. So if we write a and b is true if both a and b are true, and false otherwise. If we type a or b, it is true if at least one of a or b is true, otherwise it is false. And if we type like not a, is true if a is false, and false if a is true. So these are, you can say, logical operators which can be used in Python. The operators are and, or, and, not. If both the operands of AND operator are true, then the result is true, otherwise it is false. Let's see this by executing the commands on the shell. Okay, let me type, say if I type true and true, the result of this expression, it is true. But if I type true and false, look at the result is false. So in case of AND operator here, when both the operands are of type true, or both the operands having value true, the result is true, otherwise it is false. If I use the similar expression with the operator OR, where true or false, the result you can see it is true, because in case of OR, if either of the operand is true, the result is true. And if I type something like not true, the result is false, not true. It will simply reverses the value. If it is true, it will make it as false. If it is false, it will make it as true. I have directly given values here. Instead of values, I can even pass variables. For example, I can say A is equals to true. I can even set a value for B. B is equals to false. Both A and B are boolean values, boolean variables having values true and false. And if I write an expression now A and B, the result is false, because A is having value true and B is having value false. So that means true and false, and it is false. Like we have written it here, true and false, the result is false. And if I use A or B, you can see the result is true. So we have written it like true or false, it is equals to true. So we can use these operators and or not with boolean variables. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you. In the next session, we will continue with the other elements of Python. Thank you.